Czech Republic, South Denmark, Anne France, EPSA Germany, EPSA Greece, EPSA Ireland, LPSA Latvia. People, if you have heard your association's name, please put your hands up. SFD Lithuania, EPSA Finland delegated to SFD Lithuania, K.N.P.S the Netherlands, NAPSA Norway, SNAP delegated to NAPSA Norway, EPSA Poland, UPSA Portugal, FASFA Romania, SPSA Slovakia, SHISS for the Slovenia, NAPSA Serbia delegated to SHISS for the Slovenia, FEF Spain, ASOP Switzerland, EPSA International Turkey, and PPSA United Kingdom. Please raise your voting cards up high. I have 24 voting members present.
Can I resume the standing orders?
Thank you. Then we'll continue with other business and ask the floor if they have any other business they wish to raise. Joseph?
Joseph, President, I'll
The library.
Okay, so as you said before, we had mock elections, and now we would like to open a point for the GA to discuss this topic.
Joseph, then let's discuss this topic, and if with a new point.
Théo Anne France. As we discussed yesterday, we think that it can be very good to discuss about also regarding the election. As we saw during the mock election, if a country doesn't have the possibility nor the means to have more than one OD for the Congress, and the OD would like to apply for exec position in EPSA team, they have to choose between representing their student or applying for EPSA. For us, this is not imaginable. We would also like to add that some country can find another OD, but the LS is the most suitable person to administrate EPSA, and his member from his national association have elected him to represent them. This should remain the choice of the association and its students to choose if they want to be represented by someone that is running for EPSA. Finally, we would like to add that the Congress is the highest level of EPSA decision, and therefore we could not take the risk that a country won't be represented, especially during the election period, which is extremely crucial.
Thank you. Anna, I have a new point from KNPSB.
Jason, KNPSB Netherlands. We think if this is going to be added, that less people will apply for the positions, and the discussions would be less productive. I also want to personally say for myself that I really think EPSA is a great association, and that can be seen by the applications of the past Commission of General Affairs going for a position in EPSA. By adding this, it would make me at least reconsider if I want to apply, because I think that representing for the Dutch student is more important than what I personally want. I also didn't ask any questions at this mock election, but normally, you know, as you might have noticed, I ask a lot of questions. And yeah, if this is going together, I cannot. I know this has been a long discussion, but we really think this is an important matter and should be talked about. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a direct from Carolina.
Carolina PA, just so we're on the same page, we are not adding anything. This is the procedure that is in EPSA. So we're discussing to change it. And the line that we added, it doesn't change anything for the procedures.
Thank you, Carolina. I have Asef with a direct.
Luciana of Portugal. So you state that it is the same procedure that has been done in the previous years. But we have, for example, previous EPSA team members that were ODs and applied, and after their elections and approval, they will continue to ask questions on behalf of their association. So, can you elaborate a bit more regarding this? Thank you.
I have a direct from Joseph.
Yes, Mr. President. We tried to show it during the mock elections. At the end, we said that all the candidates that have been here are going back to their tables, being ODs again, and representing their countries. Is it clear?
Thank you, Joseph. I have a direct from APEC Portugal.
Luciano Pep, Portugal. For example, in these mock elections, Rafael was approved, but he couldn't stand or sit on their OD's table. So I think there is a bit misunderstanding regarding this. Thank you.
I have a direct from Joseph.
Yes, Mr. President. So he can, or the candidate, I'm sorry, to be general, the candidate still can ask questions, just not on behalf of the association. The person can still ask questions on behalf of themselves as interested. It's important to distinguish the roles, because if you're OD, you're representing students, you're not representing yourself as a person. You're representing your association.
Thank you. I have a direct from APEC.
Luciano Pep, Portugal. So could you elaborate why in the previous years was done like this, like differently? Thank you.
Thank you. I have a direct from Mihai.
Mihai, still IBB. It was done in the last elections we had online. We also had to adapt to everything, and maybe it slipped the mind of the persons doing elections that this should actually happen. When you have everyone live in front of you, the distinction is more clear. That was a confusion probably happening. I know exactly what you mean. I was one of the ones looking through past minutes. We need to double check older minutes from live elections to see if that actually happened in the past or not. Knowledge transfer is our worst enemy. Adapting to online wasn't easy, and maybe that was, let's say, a mistake happening with the online elections.
Thank you, Mihai. I have a clarification in the back.
Janine Anonymous. Yeah, I was an OD like a few years ago, and I was able to sit at my table when I was candidate. So I'm wondering, how is this different than what you're proposing? I need a clarification for this.
Me too.
Thank you. Does anyone with that knowledge wish to respond? Mihai?
Mihai, PP. You were until your position, until you were running. When you were running for your position, you went in front.
Yeah,
This is changing. This is the thing changing right now.
yeah, but you're saying that it stays the same, but then it doesn't.
Please use the speaking orders. I will give you the right to speak. Mihai, please finish your point. It is finished. And we have a direct in the back.
Janine Anonymous, but then it's indeed changing, so it's not staying the same. So it's changing then compared to how it used to be. Right? Then it's a change, not clarification of how it's done. Right.
Thank you. I have a direct from Mihai.
Mihai, PP. Yes, that is a difference indeed, but as a candidate, would you still ask questions on behalf of your association if you know you would be running in elections?
Yes. Please don't reply without being. So it has to be minuted. I have a direct from alumnus.
Sailor alumnus. Yes, and I think it's especially for the coordinator's position because they are being elected in one motion. And as we just saw, all the coordinators can be at their table asking questions to other positions. So you wouldn't be asking questions on behalf of your association for your own position, of course, because you will be up there answering the questions. But for the other positions, you still can ask questions. And also on behalf of the association, because it's in everybody's best interest to have the most eligible candidate elected for the position that they're running for.
Thank you. I'll just ask BB if it's a clarification or a clarification. Go ahead. Just because he was doing like.
Oh no, sorry, fine.
Okay, then we'll register you.
I want to ask a question.
Do you want to make a clarification or ask a question? Okay, it will be registered in speaking order. Mihai with direct.
Mihai, PP, help me understand. Questions are always prepared in writing. What does it matter which person is asking them, if it's the first or second OD?
Don't reply without the speaking order. I have a direct from KNPSV. Technical from Marlene first.
Marlene section. Also, please speak up in the back. I can neither see nor properly hear you, so I have a little bit of a hard time anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Direct from KNPSV. It was rough. Then I have a direct from Patrick.
Patrick, alumnus, responding to Mihai, what is the difference? Now all the countries have 2 ADs, but they have 1 LS. The LS is the most capable person because he is in all the email traffic, there is all the correspondence. That is the duty of the LS. So the LS definitely is the most knowledgeable of both ADs. The second AD is there to test the opinions of the LS. The LS should always have a buddy, to bounce his new ideas off. And then going further, I mean, everyone can ask questions. I mean, you can write the questions that you want to ask for the elections, that you can do it beforehand. But the most important thing with your questions is that you get the correct answer. So not all candidates will give the correct answer, and then you need to ask a second question. And the follow-up question, that is key. The follow-up question can only be asked by the most knowledgeable person, which is the LS. So the second OD is there. It has a great benefit of having a second OD there, but the LS is the one who should be able to ask the follow-up questions.
Thank you. I have a direct from Ahmed.
Monica, out of Austria, we have experience with not having the LS as OD, and with being OD should also be very knowledgeable. And you can read through the documents if you prepare well, if you follow up in the team meetings of your own association. You hear a lot what's going on in EPSA, and you will also be able to represent your association as good as, or nearly as good. I would say as good as the LS, because I was representing after last elections, because we were losing the LS to the secretary position, and I believe I did a good job. So we don't think that, and we don't think that we should degrade the second OD. We think it's a really important person who has the same knowledge in the second. He's in the GA just because of the preparation, and we should put some more trust. Thank you.
Thank you. Afaf, I have a new point from you as well. Oh, sorry, no, I have I'll drop that new point, and I have a direct from EPSA answer. I didn't see it.
Michał, EPSA Poland. We just wanted to agree with AFIP on the matter that the second OD shouldn't be degraded. As we know, the ODs are selected in a big advance, and there's plenty of time to get to know with the regulations. I also believe that if the LS decides to apply for either the executive position or the coordinated position, it's a decision that is done in advance, so it's not done like a week before. So I believe that the LS has the knowledge that the elections are important, and considering the fact that, as already mentioned, the LS has extensive knowledge of the torso, he knows that he doesn't have the opportunity to express his opinions during the discussion. Thereby, I believe that in such a case, the LS could properly prepare the second OD to represent the country, and thereby I do not really understand why we are just getting over this topic again. Thank you.
Thank you. No, I don't have any directs, and Afaf's point was dropped, so I have a new point from Joseph. And just so you know, we'll still have ASEP, AFIP, and DPHD in the line.
Yes, Mr. President. Thank you to alumni for the input. I see that you have some valid concerns. As with every regulation changes, it's important to constantly evaluate it. And if we'll see that there will be a problem during next elections, we will address it accordingly.
Thank you. I have a direct from APEC Portugal.
Listen, APEC Portugal. I believe there is a lack of communication here, because when asked yesterday what was the position or opinion of alumni, you state that there wasn't many concerns, but right now there are some alumni that are raising some concerns. So could you please explain us a bit more about this? Thank you.
Thank you. Before we move on to the directs, I just want to say that you can propose a 9.4 to reconsider the motion if you feel like you have new information that you didn't have at the time. On the motion number 20, I feel like that suggested the regulation changes. And I will ask the executive if they want to reply to your question regarding the alumni. Joseph?
Yes, Mr. President. As we said, we contacted selected alumni. It was probably our mistake that we didn't extended our questions to more of them, for which I apologize, and we will make sure that it won't happen in the future.
Thank you, Joseph. I have a direct from Patrick.
Patrick, alumnus, for my reference, which selected alumni did you approach? Because I'd like to know, because the alumni advisory board was not contacted for this matter.
Thank you. I have a direct from Joseph.
So we approached Eva, HLM, because she has very extensive knowledge of procedures, and we also approached Anna Krishan, the past parliamentarian, as she also has very extensive knowledge of the regulations, and we felt that she would tell us if there would be some problems, and she did raise some points that needed clarification.
Thank you. I have no direct, so I will move on to a new point from Asep. It was dropped. I have a new point from Asep. It was dropped. And I have a new point from BPhD, Germany.
Marie-Madeleine Vöbel, BPhD, Germany. My question is what the exact status of someone being a candidate for a coordinator is when not being an OD anymore at that moment, but a candidate when raising a question. What would be the general status in the GA that a question can be raised even?
Can I just confirm that you're asking what the person has to say, like parliamentarian, or if I have to say secretary or whatever, like that? Can you clarify the question?
What would be the how should I rephrase? I'm sorry. What would be the maybe current PA? Are you asking what?
Let her clarify her question.
Marie-Madeleine Vöbel, PhD, Germany. So what would be their role in the General Assembly when they're not considered an OD anymore and candidate?
Okay, thank you. For the period of the elections, because that's what states on the regulation changes, they would be a candidate. So they would leave, as it's stated now, they will leave their delegation table, go to the back, and speak as person A candidate during the period of the election. Go ahead.
Marie-Madeleine Vöbel, PhD, Germany. But since candidates for coordinators can ask questions during the elections for other coordinators, as you quote, as a person, what would be the status? Like because observers cannot ask questions at the they can, so they ask questions as the status would be observer.
I can reply to that. It would be candidate. They would say candidate after, just like any other person that's there in the back, even if there's just observers, they say observers, alumnus say alumnus. The candidates would be in the back too, and they would say candidates after they speak, and that would be their status. That's it. Okay? I will move on to the new points. I have a new point from Patrick.
Patrick, alumnus. So it's good that we already heard now the clarification on the distinguishment from which position we're speaking. So if you want to say something, you always say your name and then the position from which you speak. In my opinion, it's super clear. If you are an elect, if you're a candidate, then you say that position, and everyone knows that you're talking from that position. If you are already elected or a candidate for a position, but you have specific questions that you want to ask, then you say, hey, your association. So the distinguishment is quite clear in my opinion. But I want to go a bit further, because we heard some people in the GA who are now discouraged to run in the first round of the election. And I'm saying first round, actually I should rephrase it, the only round. The EPSA General Assembly should have only one round of elections. That is the primary source of our teammates, of our team members. All the others, all the second round, third round, go even further, those are all alternatives. So we definitely need to avoid having alternatives to the primary election. Because in primary election, people are really attending, paying attention and asking the correct questions. If you go to a second round, then the attention is way less. You haven't showed enough interest, apparently, is what you hear a lot in the GA. So we should always talk only about the first round, the only round of the GA. All the others are alternatives that we should try to skip as much as possible. So now we hear people who are discouraged to run for a position in the first round, and that is an unhealthy situation, I would say.
Thank you, Patrick. 9.4. The executive proposed the 9.4. Can I just have a clarification that what motion it is? No, they don't need to second.
Yes, sir, President. Thank you, Patrick, for the explanation. I think at this moment the distinction is quite clear. We probably did a mistake with the proposal. Therefore, we would like to take it back and let the GA to rediscuss it and decide however, based on their opinion from what they heard in this discussion.
So is the motion in the standing order?
All right. Then I open the floor for the 9.4. I see no point being raised. I'll just explain what will happen if the 9.4 is approved. This motion, the motion on the floor, will be reconsidered. So we will vote if the 9.4 is approved. We will vote on this motion again. The floor will be open. You can discuss this motion again in the document with the standing orders proposed by the executive. You can raise more concerns about it, and then we will vote on them again to see if you agree, if you don't, if there are any amendments and you agree with those. This will be the procedure. So if you have any points on the 9.4, please feel free to do so, to talk. I have a new point from ANEF.
Théo, ANEF France. For ANEF, our students have chosen us to represent them and me as an LS. They count on me to raise their voice, especially when choosing the future EPSA team. So, with the motion we voted yesterday, I will never run for an EPSA position, and I would prefer representing my student during the elections. And we think that if it does not change, EPSA would face more problem to fill in the position.
Thank you, Anna. Do I have any other new points? Okay, got Yossi for the technical.
Yes, Mr. President, I close the floor for discussion.
The floor was closed for discussion on the 9.4. So on whether we will reconsider this motion or not for voting. So I will ask you to vote on the 9.4. I ask if there are any votes against. Any abstentions? And who votes for? Thank you. You can lower your voting cards. We have 20 votes for, 0 against, no, 2 against, and 0 abstentions. Oh, okay, sorry. 22 for, 2 against, and 0 abstentions. This is the result. So the 9.4 was approved, and we will reconsider the motion that's on the screen. I'll proceed to reading it. The 62nd EPSA General Assembly adopts the changes of the EPSA standing orders proposed by the executive. I open the floor for discussion on this motion. Joseph, with the technical.
Could we have 5 minutes for executive to discuss this?
Ik loop heel snel. Maar je hebt 24 landen, maar 24 keer gestemd worden. Als je die wachten ziet, dan voor een van tegen punt, klaar. Gewoon klaar. En niet van helemaal iets meer dan nee, gewoon klaar. Dan helpt ook wel dat iedereen die bij de GE zit ook een paper heeft. Ja, in plaats van bij ons dat het goed 20 jaar ze weten wat ze kunnen doen om even in te stemmen. Ook wel iets minder. Ja.
Sorry, but you cannot leave your seats or discuss between yourselves. Thank you very much.
The standing orders are still in power.
Thank you very much for waiting, guys. We will get back to the discussion. I ask the executive to let us know the outcome of the discussion. Joseph?
Yes, President. So everyone is on the same page. If you would like to rediscuss the specific change of the standing orders, please, someone do 9.15. Say that you want to discuss it separately. We'll discuss it separately because we learned a new information. Thank you. New information, and we can proceed from there. Is that clear to everyone? Please show me some emotions.
Screen procedural motion.
9.15.
Thank you. I have a 9.15 proposed by Ken PSV, seconded by Anep. I open the, if this is, I asked the proposer what they want to vote separately. Someone give him a mic, please.
Jason, can you please speak Netherlands? We would like to propose to discuss point 11 of the standing orders separately.
Thank you. Does the secondary agree?
Theo and France, yes, we agree.
Thank you. Then I open the floor on the 9.15. If anyone has any questions regarding this, if the 9.15 will be approved, we will vote on the change to Article 11 separately, and then we'll vote in block all the other proposals for change. Again, are there any questions or comments regarding 9.15? I don't see any. Joseph for the technical.
Joseph, President, I close the floor for discussion.
Thank you, Joseph. Then we will move on to voting on the 9.15. I ask if there are any votes against. Any abstentions? And who votes for? Thank you. You can lower your voting cards. We have 24 votes for, none against, and no abstentions. So the motion will be voted upon in separate. I will just ask you for 1 minute to prepare the slide. Thank you for waiting. I will read the motion that we have now. The 62nd EPSA General Assembly adopts the changes of the EPSA standing orders proposed by the Executive to Article 11.8. And we will vote on this separately from all the other changes to the standing orders that were proposed. I open the floor for discussion on the motion. Alpha?
Annika, out of Austria, we want to raise our concerns that if the executive elect, they are proposing the coordinators, and then if they are also at the same time still OD and voting for the just proposed coordinators, we feel like that this person, this association, has like a more powerful voice than usually every other member association with voting rights present at the GA has. And we just want to say that it's also in the torso said that this should be a democratic association, and we feel like it's shifting the power a little bit. Thank you. I hope you understand me.
Thank you. Also, do I have any? Yeah, I decided to have a new point from Joseph.
Yes, Mr. President. Again, just to clarify for everyone, if this change won't pass, it will be possible for the coordinator candidates to be asking on behalf of their association. Everyone is clear with that. So everyone knows the implications of what we are discussing.
I'll ask the floor for a show of emotions. Thumbs up if you do understand, thumbs up down if you don't. General agreement, please understand. I have a direct from Mihai.
Mihai VP, to add on that and to still comment on the concern raised from ALFOP, if one official delegate is elected as executive member, they will not be going back at the executive table. So if only they don't get it or in any other situation. But if someone will have a choice in exec proposal for coordinators, they will not be official delegates at the same time. This is how it was done in the past. This doesn't affect it at all.
Thank you, Mihai. Do I have any new points?
Anne France, to respond to what Afop said, when we elect someone, we trust him and his neutrality. So we can have the same problem with someone who's not an OD. And when he's an executive, he talks on the behalf of the executive, and when he has questions, he talks on the behalf of his association. And we really think that we can do both.
Thank you. Do I have any other points to be raised? I don't see any points. I will remind you that this is the third try discussing this motion, so make sure to say if you have anything that you wish to say before we move on to vote. Joseph.
Joseph, President, another clarification. If the GA wishes, they always can propose amendments or lie it on the table. We have plenty of options how to deal with this.
Thank you, Joseph. Just to explain, to lie it on the table, you have to put 9.6, and you have to specify a deadline to when you want to lie it on the table for. You can say another GA session, though we are already in the extra, but you can also say next GA or 3 GAs from now. It's up to you, and as long as you specify the deadline. I will ask you again if you have any comments or questions regarding this. That's Spain.
I'm all for the Spain. Actually, I want to ask, like, EPSA team, why are you saying that it's the same where it's not the same? Like, I'm not really in any of the points, because I'm in the medium. I want to understand, why are you saying that it's the same, what is not that?
Thank you, Fed. Do I have a direct from the executive, Joseph?
Joseph, President. So basically, none of us in this room have live elections in the last 2 years. A lot of details have been lost, and we are thinking that we are solving a problem that wasn't really a problem because we only knew online elections. So that's why we've been coming with a different mindset with our proposal, and the discussion opened our eyes in a sense.
Thank you, Joseph. Sorry, I didn't understand. Was that a new point in the back? Oh no, just a thumbs up, sorry. Do I have anyone else wishing to speak? I have a clarification from APOC Austria.
Annika Alfred Austria, the distinction in between, just to make sure I understand everything, the distinction in between that the exec is not part of this, it's because they're at the statutes elect ones that the coordinators are elected, are in the election process, and only the coordinators are the candidates, right? I'm getting it correctly.
Thank you. Afab, I have a point of information from you.
Yes, President. Yeah, so just quickly clarify, the executive are elected one by one. So as soon as are elected, they are becoming the position elect. They are sitting by the table as we showed during mock GAs. Mock elections, the coordinators are voted in block. That's the biggest distinguish between the exec and coordinator positions.
I will add clarification from the PC side as well, since you asked the status. Yes, the status would be elect and not candidate after the election. However, it is common practice, as they explained it, that the elect also does not speak as an OD, speaks as an elect individual, and the same for the coordinator's nomination meeting with the exec, as Mihai explained. I have a direct from Yosef.
Yosef, President, a bit of further clarification. The same way as me, I am speaking on behalf of the executive, the president-elect is speaking on behalf of executive-elect.
Thank you. Thank you, Yosef. Once again, does anyone wish to speak on this point, or are you ready to vote?
9.6.
I have a 9.6 proposed by EPSA, seconded by Romania. I ask EPSA to say the specified deadline they want to. Okay, I will explain again. A 9.6 is a motion that the motion under discussion lies on the table, and it is debatable but not amendable. And I will read as it states on the standing orders. If carried, the discussion and voting on the original motion will be postponed to a specified time in the future. This allows the participants to discuss the motion outside of the General Assembly and gather more information if needed. So what I need from you is the specified time where you want this motion to be discussed at, and then I will need the seconders to agree to that specified time. Go ahead.
Michał, PPSA Poland, we propose to postpone it until the next GA.
Thank you. Does the secondary agree? Yeah, go ahead.
Andrei Fasforomia, yes, we agree.
Thank you. Then I have a clarification from Joseph.
Yes, President. Could you specify the deadline, because start of GA, end of GA?
Thank you, Joseph. Yeah, we need
Because there are elections in between, and we have to really know when exactly during the GA this should be laid on the table, or until when during the GA it will be laid on the table.
We will not be taking any direct. I haven't opened the floor for discussion on the motion, but I asked the proposer to clarify the specified time.
Michał, PPSA Poland, let's make it the start of the GA then. So before the next elections.
Thank you. Does the secondary agree?
Yes, we agree. Andrei Fasforomia, yes, we agree.
All right. Thank you. Then I open the floor for discussion on the motion. I have a new point from Patrick first.
Patrick, alumnus. Talking about my experience, I've attending at least 5 live elections in the past. This motion hasn't been a problem in all the previous elections that I attended. But now 9.6 is proposed to lie it on the table. There are a few reasons to have a 9.6. That is, if you don't have enough information, if something needs some further investigation. And I do not think that is the case here. I think this topic has been very extensively discussed already, and we will not discover anything new if we are laying this on the table. So there are now 2 options for my side opinion. For my opinion, either PPSA can drop the 9.6, or we have to vote all together on the 9.6, and then I would suggest to vote against the 9.6.
Thank you, Patrick. I have a direct from Annette.
For France, we want to add that voting for the 9.6 will just extend the problem and the next GA is election, so we have to make a decision now. We have plenty of time to discuss it, so Annette will stand against the 9.6.
Thank you. I have a direct from EPSA Poland.
In help EPSA Poland, the reasoning behind the 9.6 I've proposed is the fact that we've already been discussing the matter 3 times. We cannot reach a conclusion. The EPSA has agreed that there are some doubts about the motion. They've proposed the 9.4. Thereby, I believe that the additional time could be used for further investigating the issue. That seems to be a problem here. And there are still some confusions, despite us agreeing and disagreeing and constantly debating about the case. I also believe that a further investigation about the alumnus advisory board and the alumni could also be beneficial for the case. That's why it's just the reasoning behind us. Thank you.
Thank you, EPSA. I have a direct in the back.
Sharon, alumnus. Actually, I want to respond with 2 directs.
You
First
will
of
not be
all,
able to do that. Please do your first direct. If there's not anyone else on the list, then I'll give you the second, but if there is, I'll give them the first.
okay. Well, first of all, voting is the conclusion. So reaching a conclusion is voting. And
go ahead.
Second of all, if you were to lie it on the table, I would lie it on the table until after the elections, so you can see how live elections are without this proposal, and then you actually have the extra information you might need to come to the conclusion of voting.
Thank you. I have a direct.
Annually. Yeah, I agree also with Sharon. If you lied on the table till before the elections, we heard there are people that consider not running for a position if they cannot be OD after the election anymore. If you lied on the table till before the election, they still don't know what they're up to.
Thank you. I have a new point from Annette Fong. Dropped. I have a new point from KNPSB. Also dropped. I have a new point from APEC.
Luciana Pep, Portugal. I just want to say that we are in a GA. That is the perfect time to ask questions and to have fruitful discussions. And I would just like to question the proposer and seconder. What kind or type of information do you need to have a better decision to make? Thank you.
Thank you. APEC. Is the proposer and seconder to reply to PSN?
We hope EPSA Poland, as I've already mentioned, the executive admit that only 2 alumni were contacted, so that's why we thought that maybe there are some additional ways to improve the motion. That seems to be a debatable one, and also another additional time could be used for further discussion either within the delegation or even just like a general one. Thank you.
I have a direct from KNPSB.
Jason, Campus Netherlands. I think you can ask the alumnus in the back for your information if you need more.
Thank you, KNPSB. I have a direct from PhD Germany.
Marie Fubik, PhD Germany, received that much verbal information during that discussion that could be expressed in amendments or further investigation and written down and distributed, so I'd also support the position.
That was not a direct, because a direct would have to be to respond to KNPSB. Thank you for your intervention. I have clarification from Marina.
And in section, can you just like shortly repeat the point? I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear it.
Marie-Madeleine Föbit, PhD, Germany. I would support further investigation too, because we had lots of verbal information here and extra discussion that could be put into a written form and used for amendments. Yes.
direct from APEF? Wait just a second, we have a clarification from APEF first.
Nika, out of Austria. The motion, when we are putting it on the table, we can still amend it then in the next J and do stuff with it. It's not necessarily staying like that, right? And Annika out of Austria, I think I forgot again.
To reply to it, yes, you can still amend it at any time the motion is discussed. Even if the motion didn't pass, you could propose a new regulation change, so you have the power to do whatever you want regarding this, as long as you respect the deadline stated by PC and also. Now I have a direct from APEF Portugal.
Luciano from Portugal. We believe there is enough information, and we already discussed this throughout all the sessions, and APEF disagrees with the procedural motion. Thank you.
Thank you. I will ask the floor if they have any new comments or questions they wish to make. I have a direct from Pastor.
To answer the question from Andrei Vasa from Romania, sorry. To answer the question from Portugal, we believe that right now there is a lot of tension in the GA, and we cannot reach a productive outcome of this change. So that is why we are seconding the 9.6.
Thank you, Andre. I understand you were replying to the last person who spoke, but you were replying to another point from them, so that would be a new point, but there was no one in front of you, so that's fine. Are there any new points? Anyone that wishes to speak? I have a point of information from Patrick.
Patrick, as a point of information, I would like to state that the GA, the General Assembly that we're having, isn't here to reach a consensus. So we don't have to agree 100% with each other. But the purpose of the GA is to give every opinion a spotlight, make sure that all the information is there. And we can disagree. We should disagree. That is something that we should strive to, and that's something that will bring us further. So reaching a consensus isn't the aim of the General Assembly.
Thank you, Pat. That point of information had a lot of personal opinion in it, but it'll be fine. Is there any new points from anyone? Joseph with the technical.
Joseph, President, I close the floor for discussion.
Thank you, Joseph. Then we'll move on to voting on the 9.6 to decide whether the discussion of this motion will be postponed till the beginning of the 63rd General Assembly or not. I ask if there are any votes again. Please raise your voting cards high so we can count them.
Hi, please. Hi.
Thank you. You can lower your voting cards. Are there any abstentions? Thank you. You can. Oh, please. Are there any abstentions?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. And are there any votes for? Okay. Thank you. I have 5 votes for, 16 against, and 3 abstentions. So the motion was not carried, and the discussion of this motion will not be postponed to the beginning of the 63rd General Assembly. And I return to the discussion on the motion that's on the screen. The 62nd EPSA General Assembly adopts the changes of the EPSA standing orders proposed by the Executive to Article 11.8. I open the floor for discussion on this motion. Joseph with the technical.
Joseph, President, I close the floor for discussion.
Thank you, Joseph. Then we will move on to voting on this motion. The 62nd EPSA General Assembly adopts the changes of the EPSA standing orders proposed by the Executive to Article 11.8. I ask if there are any votes against. Please raise your voting cards high. Are there any abstentions? Thank you. You can lower your voting cards. And are there any votes for? Thank you. I have 8 votes for, 14 against, and 2 abstentions. So the motion was not carried. We will move on to the next motion. The 62nd EPSA General Assembly adopts the changes of the EPSA standing orders proposed by the Executive to Articles 3.5, 12.7, and 13.4, which are all the other proposals for changes to the standing orders by the Executive. I open the floor for discussion on this motion. Joseph with the technical.
Joseph, President, I close the floor for discussion.
Thank you. Then we'll move on to voting on the motion as it reads. The 62nd EPSA General Assembly adopts the changes of the EPSA standing orders proposed by the Executive to Articles 3.5, 12.7, and 13.4. I ask if there are any votes against, any abstentions, and who votes for? Thank you. You can lower your voting cards. I had 24 votes for, none against, and no abstentions. So the motion was carried unanimously, and the changes have been approved. And with this, we'll return to the point of the agenda where we were at, which is any other business. I will ask the floor if they have any other business they wish to discuss. Joseph?
Mr. President, so as I was saying before, we have 2 more topics that we would like to discuss in GA. The first one being how to approach, handle, and prevent inactivity of EPSA member associations in future.
Thank you, Joseph. I ask if anyone wants to speak under this point. I have any point from Lithuania.
Narunas, Escobar, Lithuania. We were discussing this point with Nida, and we had the same problem in activity in our organization. And
Yeah. Go. Just be quick. Yeah. So it does not disturb this. Thank you.
Thank you for disturbing.
All right, let's return to silence and have fruitful discussions. Maruna, sorry, you can continue.
So we had the same problem in activity in our organization, and the most fruitful thing we did was to write to each of our members that were active or accepted our invitation to our organization, and we wrote each of them what do you want to do, and we asked what questions, we tried to introduce them into the organization and make them more active, or propose some positions if they have some strengths.
Thank you so much, SFB. I have a direct from Joseph.
Yes, Mr. President, I have a quick question because I'm not 100% sure how your association works. So you have a local branches of your association. We are not talking as members, as individual students.
Thank you. You can clarify.
Maronas, Lithuania. We have a branch. We have only one branch. So there are inactive members. Most of them are in the branch one, but there are a lot of them as well in the main one. So we had to work through both of them.
Thank you. Do I have anyone else wishing to comment on Yosef's question regarding the inactivity of members? Papa, I'm sorry.
Annika out of Austria, I think, regarding the activity of member associations. What helped me in IPSF as CP was when we were having a sub-regional project and I was working together with other CPs, which was really encouraging, and they were helping me then with some stuff to overcome, and also we had some social time. We were able to go on holidays together in the summer, and that really motivates you to be more active. And actually, I'm in a subcommittee for the Euro now, so I actually became more active. So that's helpful.
Thank you, Afaf. I ask if anyone else wishes to comment or speak. I have a new point from Joseph.
Yes, Mr. President. So to make it more concrete as a question to the GA, what would you like to recommend to the executive that we should do to prevent any drops in activity, or even that we have to discharge some of the associations as we did at the beginning of this GA in future, as it is always very sad situation and we do it with heavy heart.
Thank you. I have a new point from SFC Lithuania. Oh no, I'm sorry. Okay. Go ahead.
Narūnas, SPD Lithuania. Actually, right now, today in my country, we're starting a training session for the inactive members and new members in our organization, and we are introducing our teams and making like workshops as well to show off how our organization is working and to have a great time.
Thank you. I have a new point from Afaf.
Annika out of Austria, as you might have noticed in my point before, I really think that it helps when you put like a really small group of member associations together in a project, and maybe tell them the topic and then they're going to develop something alongside that. But like they should be able to choose the topic, because when they're not interested, they're not going to be engaged. Just like maybe a selection of topics from which they can choose, and then also give them some help, so they have like some ideas or guidelines on what they can do to that topic, and then you just let them go and they will have fun.
Thank you, Afaf. I have a new point from Annex France.
Théo, Annex France. In Annex we have a sort of project. Each member of Annex board has to follow one of our 24 local associations. We have to remind them the deadlines and the detail of each project, what we are expected from them, and we are in contact like practically every day with them. We also have a lot of live events that I think help to be active. We have 4 General Assemblies, we have 1 Congress, and we have 2 weeks of just social event and voting, and I think it helps out.
Thank you, Anna. I have a new point from EPSA Germany.
Marina Fluid, PhD Germany. So as far as I know, there is a motivational, a motivation statement, an application is received, right? So how about formulating an individual strategic plan with the member associations? I don't know when exactly, but that could be done. So they also formulate their possible hopes and plans for the future together with EPSA.
Thank you, BPHD. I have a new point from GPSF, please.
Marina, GPSF. So what I have noticed during my years in EPSA is that member associations really connect with EPSA and really understand what EPSA does, and they're really motivated when they actually see team members coming to their own country and meeting them live. So some years ago we had Ruben, but he was alumni coordinator back then, but he came to Greece and he was visited members fund for the humanitarian mobility project, and a lot of our members actually met him, and that was really beneficial for the whole team because they could see how EPSA works from within. Then we had a TOT, so trainers came in Greece and they talked again about EPSA and projects, and they did deliver the trainings, and that was again very, very beneficial. When you see someone live, it's so much easier to connect with them and to see how important it is to be active in EPSA, how many benefits you have. So I would recommend maybe to budget this particular thing a little bit more. I'm not really sure if it is possible because this is a financial matter. Of course, it's always difficult. But for us, as an association that was again starting to gather and start doing things again and being active in EPSA again, it was really, really important to see you standing in front of us and talking to us, and it was really inspiring for all of us. So if you could just budget this a little bit more, it would be very useful for many members associations, I think.
Thank you so much, GPSF. I have a point of information from Carolina.
Carolina VPIA. So we actually do have it budgeted, just for all of you to know. We have a VMF, and if you send us an email and invite us to your country, even just to meet the executive board or for your, event, or even a simple gala, or if GA, that's all of it, it's possible. And we do have it budgeted, and we are paying the team members to go. It was stopped because of Corona, but just so you know, you just need to send me an email saying when it is, what it is, and what is covered and what is not covered, so we can estimate how much money it would take us to send a person there. And then it's voted on by the executive who goes. Oh, and of course, please add if you want 1 or 2 people. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a direct from AFAP.
Annika, AFAP Austria, I would recommend to maybe send an email to all LSs so that they're aware of it, because I don't think that everyone is aware of it. And probably the people who are not here are the... Do you hear me, actually? Okay. Are the less active members, so they will need this information more, and also...
I have a direct from South Denmark then person.
Jasmine, South Denmark. You made a very good point. It just reminded me of a guy called Tillen, who was in the members for some years ago. He visited Denmark, and I invited him to our parties. And most of the Danish students, they were like hearing about EPSA, and they were like, "Oh my God, that's such a like cool opportunity." And after that, the students got more like motivated to get to the different congresses, but of course because of the pandemic it wasn't possible. So it's actually a very good idea to send some like professional team members to different countries to talk about it.
Thank you. Stop. I will remind you that when you put a direct, it should be to the last person who spoke, so it should be referring to AFAP, and I will give the floor to AFAP if it's not a direct. Are you replying to what just said?
I think, sorry for switching to German. Annika, AFAP Austria, we think it's the direct. We just wanted to say that it's also important, even if there's an active team member in the association, to have someone else coming. Because for us, we have an active team member, but still maybe not the most active association. I would like to have more people in our association to be more interested in EPSA, and Marlene is great, but she might not be enough for that. Thank you.
Thank you. I will move on to the new points now, as I don't see any directs. And I have a new point from APEC Portugal.
Luciana APEC Portugal. So we agree with AFAP said in terms of creating, for example, an email thread, and we might get a bit more opinions about it. But regarding this, I think it depends a lot on the engagement of the member and also from the LSs. Because as an LSs, the LS position is really demanding because we have to know what is happening or what has happened with EPSA throughout the past years to have fruitful discussions and to discuss the topics about it. And I think for us, there might be some LSs that maybe are kind of lost in the beginning of the term because it is a lot of information to process. So if you could guide somehow those LSs that are beginning the term, it will be really beneficial for everyone. Also, in giving the APEF's perspective, we work closely with our members and we have working groups and to discuss all the documents and to have a more engagement not only with our members but also to understand their point of views, and this is always not only motivating for them but also from me as an LS, and I think that's the most suitable option or opinion to do. Thank you.
I have a new point of information from Carolina.
Carolina JA. Thank you very much. We do have the new LS trainings started by my predecessors, so I meet with all the new LSs and explain everything that is in EPSA, and I try to get them all on the same page. They also get access to the welcome package before, so if they have any questions about the documents, they can ask me. So this is a little bit already in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolina. I have a new point from Honorary, Romania.
Andrei, Hospital Romania. So to tell you our perspective about this, we had some past mandate. We organized educational activity for presenting pharmacy student opportunities in this domain. And it was a webinar organized by 3 local associations. This webinar was very good for their activity in the national associations as they were not really active, and now they are very active in it. And also we made some time ago joint policy papers which really helped increase the relations with other associations on a European level.
I have a new point from EPSA Poland.
Michał, EPSA Poland. We just wanted to express our general support for the ideas that's been already put during the discussion. It's very exciting to see from my perspective that the solutions that we are implying across Europe, despite us not being directly connected and communicating, they are still somehow fairly similar. So I've noticed that we also put stress onto engaging our members into the projects that we have, and usually the issue with members not being active is the fact that they simply don't know that they can be active, or maybe they, for some reasons, they don't realize about the possibility and about the benefits of it. Thus, I believe that further promotion on the side of LSs and proper information could be beneficial in this area. In PPSA board, we also have a similar solution in France regarding the body project and mentoring. So we also have members of the national board mentoring the local divisions. Thus, we also agree that this could be an improvement in the area. And we also agree that the stationary events are obviously more engaging, and a face-to-face meeting could be also good for establishing new relations and new acquaintances. Thank you.
Annika, out of Austria, we think that maybe it would also be a good idea to have open day in the EPSA house in Brussels where people could come and see you. Because we are aware that we have always the possibility to ask if we can sleep there, but something or stay there. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but just to have an open. It's information from years. But yeah. Sorry, Marina.
Thank you. And I have a new point from EPSA UK.
Alex, EPSA UK. Obviously, we hope that LSs have a key voice in their associations.
is there a way that we can check and communicate with the LSs to make sure that there is that link, especially for those countries that are less engaged? If the information is going to LSs and then not going and taken seriously by the association, can we make sure that that's followed through so that the engagement is then passed to members from other members of their associations?
Thank you, BPSA. I have a new point from GPSF 3. Well, Greece.
Marina, GPSF Greece. So what we did at the beginning, when we started to be more active in EPSA again, was that we also tried to implement some stuff that we learned from EPSA into our own structure of the association. For example, in every brainstorming or every General Assembly that we also have, we try to use the EPSA hand signals so the members feel also closer to EPSA. I mean, nobody expects this to actually work from the beginning, but they really do feel like members of EPSA when they are actually using stuff that EPSA is also using. It's also the same with some structural amendments that we made to how the board works, or how some discussions were made, and how some regulations were made. The equivalent of torso in GPSF also has a lot of similarities with how EPSA's torso is structured. So we also believe that this could be beneficial for countries that are, or for associations that are less active right now, and they are trying to get their students involved. But because it also demands maybe changes in structural designs and stuff, maybe it's not that easy to implement. But stuff like the code, the hand signals and stuff, they really do work for our students. So I do think that it could work for other students as well.
Thank you. I have a direct from BPHD Germany.
Marie-Madeleine Füwig, BPHD Germany. But since it's a question from the executive, what they could change about their way of engaging member associations and members in general more, there might be doubt about how they could implement like those changes in the member associations, because they can't just they can't just formulate guidelines like use EPSA hand signs or anything like that. So they
I have a direct from GPSF 3.
Marina, GPSF Greece. I know this discussion is about how the executive can actually help, but it also goes back to how LSs take their position and how they try to implement stuff. So this was just a suggestion so that the executive knows that the LSs, the executive already knows that the LSs will liaise the whole thing. So if it was just a suggestion, they could make to LSs so that maybe the LSs could actually share with the rest of the group. Because I also believe, like it was said from previous also other associations talking before, it's all about, I think, the LS, how the LS interacts with the students and what they try to implement from EPSA in their own associations. So yeah, it was like the direct executive thing they could do. It's just some suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a new one from Joseph.
Yes, I'm present. So our initial question was just to get the discussion flowing. Of course, if you see any opportunities to exchange best practices between the association, how to be more involved in EPSA, feel free to do so. This is exactly the platform to do that.
Thank you. I have no more points on the speaking order. I'll ask if anyone has any other AOB then. Joseph, the technical?
Yes, I'm present. So first of all, thank you very much for this input. We still have one topic we would like to discuss, but since we have 7 minutes before the lunch, we'll finish earlier, and then we'll have the discussion after the lunch, and we'll see, probably we'll be ending the last GA session earlier than it's planned, but I don't think anyone minds that. Please, everyone, still pay attention. We are still in GA. Kevin will want to have some announcements. Yes, after the protocol, so please don't start getting